You are now listening to the State of Iowa's #1 men's humor politics podcast, Rock Hard Caucus.
Finally, the name is put to good use.
Men only, no girls
Men
allowed.
only.
Men podcasting their own way.
Now we can talk about our real opinions.
Yeah, thank God.
Mask off, toilet seat up.
Toilet seat up.
I'm farting and I'm watching football at the same time.
I will have one sustained fart this entire recording. It may kill me.
I've locked myself in the garage. The car is running.
3 hot rods just blazing. Everyone's last podcast.
The only way I'll let a woman into my man cave now is if she's bringing me food and alcohol.
That's right.
I'm poisoned by masculinity. All right, I'm Justin Comer. I'm the host. I'm here with my usual co-hosts, Chuck Yonda
Hello.
and Evan Jones.
Hey.
And we have kicked out the only female voice. Natalie Harwood is absent.
Finally.
In her place is the male version of her husband, Cooper Harwood.
Hello.
Her better half? Question mark?
Much. Is that the first topic? Because yes, much better. If you like Natalie, but you wish that she was dumb and didn't have good jokes.
Oh.
What if Natalie but dumb? I'm here to answer that question.
Natalie, but dumb and a deeper voice.
Yes, marginally deeper. Well, she has a really high voice, so I can
Yeah.
get away with saying I have a much deeper voice.
Yeah, you can get away with it for sure.
Yeah, Natalie is off feeding the homeless or something. She has abandoned her duty to podcast. Fortunately, her husband is here to fill in and do her job for her.
Do the real work.
I like how Natalie's out doing community service on her Sunday, feeding the homeless, and I woke up half an hour ago, and I'm going to do this and then probably watch football all day.
Same, dude.
And this will have felt like an
Dude,
accomplishment.
So bad. Dude, we're scumbags. Oh my God.
I can't believe she's off doing that instead of doing our podcast that none of us get paid for.
And it's literally feeding the homeless. That's not a stand-in for a good act. It is the literal providing food to the housing insecure. That is the thing that's happening.
Yeah, that part wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
No. All it does is reaffirm her as one of the only true activists out of this group, except for Justin, but
I haven't been too active recently because I've been working too damn much. I'm in Chuck mode.
yep. Just work yourself to death. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so to get things started today, there was a big-ass Democratic event in Des Moines this weekend, and Evan and Cooper participated in the insurgent part of this event. They were out there walking with Bernie in the March Against Corporate Greed. Can you recap that event for us?
Sure. So, I guess, what was the dinner at the Wells Fargo Arena called? Fucking...
Freedom and liberty.
Liberty, fucking whatever. It was a bunch of Democrats descending upon downtown Des Moines and holding their own little rallies and then speaking at this dinner for a bunch of dumb, rich, liberal Democrat people.
So our listeners.
Our listeners, basically. Andrew Yang brought Rivers Cuomo, which is
I'm sure you
hilarious.
enjoyed that.
I mean, I disowned Weezer 20 years ago.
Fun fact for our listeners that might have been mentioned on the show before, Evan is a Weezer encyclopedia, even though he has disowned them.
That's how I got started posting on the internet.
Yep.
Did you get to see Rivers at all?
No, not at all.
damn.
I went straight from work to the Bernie March Against Corporate Greed thing. So
Okay, yeah.
it was fun. There's a lot of security, which is, I haven't actually gone to see Bernie speak before. Well, other than at the steak fry, but I couldn't really see him.
I got every third word of the steak fry.
What'd you think of it?
It was great. He ran through all the hits. I don't know. It was more good to be there as a show of support, than learning anything new. However, the only thing we really did learn was that Bernie and AOC are going to be doing a series of events in Iowa to hype up the Green New Deal.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. I'll probably be going to the one in Des Moines. I know there's like several of them planned.
Yeah, there's one next weekend in Coralville at the Marriott,
Yeah.
at the convention center out there.
Yeah, I was going to plug that at the end, but I'll just do it now. Yeah, Bernie and AOC will be in Coralville, the Coralville Marriott. It starts at 6:30 next Saturday, the 9th. That's like half a mile from my house, but as usual, I'll be working.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed,
Yep.
but my wife will
They
be
will
going.
be
So
in Des Moines that same weekend. I'm just
I
Saturday.
believe it's Saturday.
Yeah, no, I can do the official plug here for Saturday, November 9th at 11 a.m., apparently at the Drake University Bell Center.
nice.
So named after Drake Bell, correct?
Yep, that's it.
Perfect. Okay. The Drake Bell,
Definitely.
Bernie Sanders, and AOC will all be there
And AOC, yeah.
talking about climate crisis.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think I think I have the suite at the hockey game that night, but I still might try to make it out there. Back Pocket Brewing is like right next to the hotel where Bernie's going to be speaking at, so go out there and have a couple of drinks, have dinner, and then go over and see our beautiful boy Bernie and AOC, of course.
Get drunk as hell and go heckle them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go yell at him for all his half measures. Just kidding. Come on. Tough crowd.
Yeah, so I parked. I went straight there from work. I parked. There's a ton of traffic downtown. There's like all kinds of shit going on. I walked to a couple blocks to the it was the Veterans Memorial Auditorium or whatever, where Bernie was speaking. I saw a John Delaney sticker on a car for the first time, which was kind of impressive to me.
That's more impressive than seeing John Delaney himself, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they were like directly related to him in some way, or in some way were receiving money from him. So,
Did the car have Iowa plates?
I believe it did.
Yeah, probably his campaign manager.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I got there. They're bussing in all kinds of Bernie supporters from all over. I know there's a bunch of people there from like, I don't know, Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City. Like a lot of people showed up. I believe there's like 1,500 people total.
Yeah, that was the count I heard.
There were at least 2 buses from Iowa City on the way
Mhm.
over there.
Yep. So there's a bunch of buses. I got there a little bit before any the speakers started, so I got up pretty close to the podium, and there was a young woman in front of me who was like kind of like bragging to her friend about how she's not a feminist. And like,
Cool.
I thought it was a little interesting. I also got into a little conversation. There was like an elderly. There weren't a couple, but there's an older guy who said he used to be a doctor, who is a big Bernie supporter, and then another woman from Marion, Iowa, which is I used to live there. It's a suburb of Cedar Rapids, and we talked a little bit about Susan Sarandon because I guess she had met her and talked about how great she was, and I mean,
Nice.
she's pretty great.
Sounds like some good discourse out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be out there with like-minded people.
I suppose.
The Bernie campaign where they had some signs, and I got one of the like big signs with a "Feel the Burn." Like it was like bright blue and green tie-dye. You can see it in a lot of the pictures from the rally.
It was a very pretty sign.
It was a very pretty
impressed.
sign. I was
Yeah.
very happy to steal it and not actually do any of the work of creating it.
My favorite part about politics.
Yeah, the fucking fake grassroots organizing, where they just hand you a sign.
Did you get to keep the sign?
I didn't. I mean, I probably could have, but I wasn't going to be that guy.
I told you guys, signs equal victory. It's gonna happen. Like all these Pete signs popping up and all the Biden signs. I'm telling you, it's gonna
Man.
happen.
The
all
whole
the Pete signs.
downtown in Des Moines was plastered with signs again.
Mhm.
But yeah, Bernie spoke. There was a really good brass band that started the rally. I'm not sure.
Uneducated plug. I believe it was the Bring Your Own Brass Band. So if
Oh,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
a
Yeah, I know
okay,
them.
they do
Yep.
exist. That was
Yep.
them. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, they were really good. Then there was a Palestinian American comedian. I can't remember his name. I saw him after.
It's Amr something. He's
Yes.
been here
Yeah.
a couple times.
Yeah, he's from like Dearborn, Michigan. which is the highest Arab per capita like city in the country. So that was cool. There's they had a guy come out who works at McDonald's and talk about the way that he's mistreated daily at work. And
it's Amr Zar. Apologies if I mispronounced his name, but that's the Palestinian comedian that has become like a surrogate for Bernie recently.
Yep. And then they had a woman who was a farmer who basically got bought out by like a corporate farm. And then Bernie came out. Jane was there, which is cool because I hadn't seen her before. Pretty standard Bernie speech. It was good to be there again with all the like-minded people. A lot of chanting, a lot of cheers. Very cold.
Yeah, this was outside?
Yeah. So it was kind of rainy a little bit when I got there. But yeah, it was pretty chilly. But they did have a lot of like heating units out there, which is nice.
And Cooper, you were using your child as a political prop for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't know how she hasn't made it to a campaign ad yet, because she is 4 and was like dancing wildly to the music and like holding a Bernie sign, wearing sunglasses and a Planned Parenthood hat. Like,
oh, dude, that's perfect.
Right? Like,
dude, the Harwood family is the most photogenic Bernie supporters of like anyone. You guys are the top.
Thank you.
There's people taking pictures of you guys.
Yeah, like it's a really weird position to like. I saw strangers filming my child, and I was just like, yeah, that's cool. I like this.
No, but really, they should use you guys in ads.
At least the kid. I don't know how she hasn't made it to one. But
no, you and Natalie too.
Yeah, I mean, we do the whole nuclear family thing pretty well, but.
Very cute.
Thank you. That's the key to politics. I don't have a ton to add. I was present. Bernie did start with a cute grandpa joke about how we provided him some good Vermont weather.
So Evan, you mentioned that Bernie mentioned Beto in his speech. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, he did. He mentioned that Beto.
Why did he mention Beto?
As you may have heard, Beto has dropped out of the race today. He's a good friend of mine. And then he went on he basically used it to bring up the gun control stuff about how it's unacceptable to have the level of gun violence that we have in this country, which, I mean, 100%. I'm one of the gun grabbers, wannabe gun grabbers, so I was down with that.
So Beto really did successfully pivot himself to being the gun guy.
I mean, yeah, you could say that's what killed his campaign, but
Yes, that's what killed the campaign.
I mean, it was pretty mismanaged, I think, from the start, but I think that probably had something to do with it.
It was the final thing. It was like a Rasputin situation, but the final thing that killed him.
I do think it's really funny that he was supposed to speak at this thing, and his campaign was there setting up, and he dropped out as that was happening. Yeah. Perfect timing.
What a shitty feeling that would be if you were an organizer. You get there early, it's fucking cold, you got coffee for everybody, donuts, you're getting your little pop-up tent set up, and you're unloading all of your signs and everything, and then you just get a notification on Twitter that Beta will dropped out of the fucking
There
race.
were people apparently crying and stuff. I saw.
Imagine crying because Beto dropped out.
There was a box of unused Beto chants that someone had taken a picture of and posted on Twitter that his supporters were supposed to do, but never got distributed, unfortunately.
Write a sad story in 4 words. Beto chants, never used.
That is a pretty sad story. So yeah, after the Bernie spoke, we went on our little march. They had some pre-planned chants. However, at the right when we were filing out of the off the steps and starting the march or whatever, we started a "Not Me, Us" chant, which I am very partial to that one. I think it's the best one, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I sasaw on Twitter that you did that to the tune of Locker
Yes.
Up.
There was a certain Des Moines Register, our favorite newspaper. He was covering the event, and he said that we were chanting to the tune of Lock Her Up, and then he corrected it to the cadence of Lock Her Up. However...
Wait, that was a Register guy?
Yeah, it was a Register guy.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah, so...
Our enemies.
Yeah, apparently he is under the impression that there's a different way to chant a 3-syllable Like, I'm not sure how we could have done it. Like, not me, us, or like, I'm not sure.
Every single 3-syllable chant is always like beat, 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 rest.
Yeah.
Or
You know?
you could do not me, us. Maybe like that.
There we
Get
go.
the extended cadence there.
Yeah.
With some like clapping in between.
Let's go.
It sounds like a
team.
taunt.
Yeah, it does sound like a taunt. That's more like what you yell at an opposing basketball team.
Perhaps.
I don't think that guy actually was trying to make any sort of point about Bernie supporters. I just think that he was genuinely dumb enough.
Just wanted
to...
attention. He felt like getting some replies.
No, I mean, he thought he was making some sort of like observation.
I mean, I guess it's an observation, but
It's an
like,
observation
like,
that you would not share if you spent more than like 30 seconds thinking about it.
Mhm.
If you heard more than 2 chants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of marched around the block. I saw a guy wearing my sister's band's hat, which is pretty funny because they're not like super well known.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tight.
Goat fight. Check it out. So yeah, I sent him a picture of that. I thought it was funny because they're like not super well known at all. So we marched around the block. We marched like towards the Wells Fargo Arena, which is like a couple blocks away and where the main event was happening. And then right across the street from that, they had a whole big room set up for all the Bernie supporters to have a meal together and like organize volunteer efforts and stuff. At which point they were having us file inside, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to get rid of my sign that I was still carrying. My arm is actually still sore because I was carrying that sign. I probably blocked the view of many of the people behind me, and I was actually... So one guy did eventually tap me on the shoulder and tell me to put it down. So I did.
Sir.
But yeah, so then I was walking back to my car. I still had my Bernie sign. Just a standard square Bernie sign. And I was walking with these 2 elderly Bernie guys, and we were kind of chatting about politics and stuff. They were very cool. But I happened to notice we were walking by, and like I said, there's tons of signs. It was mostly like Klobuchar and Warren signs. But there were like Beto signs, and they were all like just on the ground, like they had already been uprooted. And there was a guy there was like a Beto campaign guy who was going around collecting them and putting them in a van to I don't know, hopefully recycle them. But he had a bunch of them, and he was like, hey, you guys want a sign? And I was like, no. And then I was like, wait, I'll take one as a souvenir. And I was like, I kind of like the guy. And he's like, well, I kind of like Bernie too. So that was good. Maybe we'll get some of the Beto stragglers.
Where do you guys think is like the most logical landing point for the Beto people?
I saw a poll, and the number one...
I got a poll for you to look at too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, check your phone.
Men's humor.
Yeah, this is kind of
Men's humor. Men's humor.
I saw a poll that Beto supporters' second choice was number 1, Biden.
Well, that's
number
not
2,
gonna matter.
Bernie, but like just a couple points behind. And then I think like Warren, but like significantly lower. But the least likely, or like the least common second choice was Pete Buttigieg, which I think it's funny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because again, they're basically the same guy.
Yeah, the 2 guys who are the
But
most
again,
similar.
Beto is better than
seemingly.
Pete in every way conceivable. He at least seems somewhat genuine. Compared to Pete, who's like a robot designed to, I don't know, soothe Democrats' souls by appearing presidential and saying the right things.
Just reminding them of Obama just enough to just hit that fucking receptor in their brain that dumps dopamine everywhere.
Yeah. So I got a Beto sign, which is pretty cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but...
Put it in your yard. Just leave it there. Leave it there all through 2020.
I was told I should just tape the Bernie sign over the front of the Beto sign and then put it up in the yard.
That would work too.
I might do, but...
Oh, you could fit 2 Julian Castros on there if you tape them on.
Yeah,
that is
there you
true.
go.
And yeah, that was a pretty good encapsulation of Beto's campaign.
He was the one who had the float at the stake
Yeah,
fry, right?
the float that sank or was removed. I'm not sure, but it definitely sank in my opinion.
Oh, that buoy that was out in the water, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Float is grandiose. It was an object floating, but it was...
That's true.
R.I.P. Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
Robert Francis O'Rourke. sorry.
Robert Francis.
Do we have a highlight reel of all of his greatest moments queued up? Or
In the arms of the angel.
That poor guy. He already told his kids they could live in the White House. That's going to be hard to explain to him.
The thing that's really annoying, too, is that he could have just ran for Senate again, and he is not going to do that now.
Yeah.
And he probably would have won, like...
Yeah. That was the strangest part to me, where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to pursue re-election in the Senate either. I'm just going to, like, become a private citizen.
Well, I don't know. It's probably too late, to be fair.
he might not want to lose another election. I guess,
Yeah.
just in case. Like,
He could pull a Rubio and just run for Senate anyway, after saying he won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Is he setting himself up to try to be a VP or secretary?
I would
keeping
not
it
be
real,
surprised. Yeah. I would not be surprised if, like, Warren won, that she would choose him or someone like him. But yeah, his campaign accomplished literally nothing. It's kind of sad.
He became the guy that when everybody just didn't have enough time to talk about guns, they were just like, I agree with Beto and think he's doing great.
Yeah, so after I got the sign, we sparked a little conversation with the two older guys I was walking with about guns, and they were like both like super anti-gun. It was kind of refreshing to hear that from like an older white guy. One of the guys was like kind of pro-gun. He was like, my wife was like, what are you even gonna do? Your gun's in the safe. Like if someone were to like invade your house or whatever. And I was like, yeah, like that's great. You have your gun in a safe. Like legitimately keep it out of the hands of anyone else, you know?
So speaking of guns and danger in general, there's been a recent scourge in this state. Have you guys ever attended a gender reveal party?
Yes, several.
No, I don't have any friends
I've attended several.
who do such a thing.
So the methods that I've seen, one was a piñata, and when the piñata was broken open, blue sparkles came out. I've seen a giant balloon get popped, and when that one got popped, pink sparkles came out.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of the other ones I've seen. There was one that had like this like color changing sand. I don't know how it worked, but like they both poured sand into something, and then they added water, and then it turned pink. I don't know. I think gender reveal parties are kind of stupid. Like, I get that, you know, it's probably fun for people to make a big deal out of it, but I don't see the point, really.
Yeah, and as a person with a child, Cooper, have you participated in any gender reveals?
Yeah, so I like, not to get like too personal, but we had my daughter's grandfather was like probably not gonna make it, and he was like really, you know, interested in it. So we were trying to figure out like a perfect thing to do to honor him, and he passed away before we had the chance. So we actually we used hot pink embalming fluid and then broke him open like a piñata. And people were delighted. No part of that happened.
Okay, I was like, you sold it pretty well.
No, thank you for going on that journey with me, though. But no, we just like accidentally started using gendered pronouns and like saying her, and then people figured it out. Like we did not do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from my understanding of gender reveal parties, like it's pretty much for the man or for the father to either fantasize about how they will harm the person who touches their daughter, or fantasize about the ways that they will vicariously live through their son and force him to watch sports and participate in sports.
Yeah.
As a man on a men's humor politics podcast, I identify with that.
Yeah.
So there have been a couple of incidents recently here in Iowa. Both of these were near Des Moines, actually, where gender reveal parties had some consequences, we'll say. Before I get into this, I just want to say, like, I don't want to make fun of a dead person, okay?
Always a good caveat.
But here we go.
We don't want to, but
we don't
we
want
have
to, but it's necessary.
All right, so this is a Des Moines Register article by Philip Jones, and Jones is spelled Joens.
I was
So
going to say
not a relative of
no
Evans.
relation.
Yeah.
I'm actually not related to every single person whose last name is Jones, believe it or not.
The headline here is, Iowa grandmother killed at gender reveal was 45 feet away from pipe bomb. She died instantly, authorities say. So remember how Chuck described the gender reveals he's been at, involving sand or a piñata. Apparently you can do this with a bomb instead.
Yeah. What people do is they'll have like a parcel of some sort, like loaded with blue powder or pink powder, and they just shoot at it from a long distance using tannerite, which like explodes when you shoot at it. Like people do that shit out in the countryside all the time. They'll take like an old microwave and like, you know, load it with tannerite, and they'll shoot it, and it just blows up like a bomb.
Yeah, and that's actually what they use for this one, apparently.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I read it, I was immediately like, there's no way that this did not involve tannerite. Like, it's just not possible. There's no other way to die at a gender reveal.
A family intending to create a gender reveal spectacle put gunpowder in a homemade contraption, expecting to blow some colored powder skyward, authorities said. But instead, the device functioned essentially as a pipe bomb, and shrapnel from the explosion killed one of the celebrating relatives Saturday, according to the Marion County Sheriff's Office in central Iowa. Iowa authorities released details Monday about what happened over the weekend, along with the name of the victim of the accident outside a home in rural Knoxville.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Knoxville? It's near Des Moines.
Oh, yeah, dude. Knoxville Speedway is there. It's like the dirt track racing capital of the world. There's like the Sprint Car Hall of Fame there.
Oh, no shit. Wow.
There's a lot of good barbecue places. There's Peachtree Brewing.
Yeah, Peachtree's there, I was going to say.
It's a very nice place to visit, honestly, especially if you're into racing like I am. That's quite the... I mean...
Yeah, her name was Pamela Krameyer. She was 56. She was killed instantly by the shrapnel.
What a way to go.
Literally accidentally made a pipe bomb. Like I don't know.
They have some details here about how it was made, too.
Oh.
6 people, including Krameyer and the expectant mother, gathered Saturday and put gunpowder inside a homemade stand that was welded to a metal base. They put a piece of wood on top of the gunpowder and some powder of an unspecified color on top of that. I have to laugh that they say they haven't revealed.
That is actually a question that just popped up. Like I've seen a lot of articles about this, but they never actually said what the gender was.
No, they say unspecified color, so they kept that a secret.
Then, like,
Okay.
what's the point?
She died for nothing.
She died for nothing. If you're gonna have someone die in a gender reveal explosion, then everybody better know what that gender is.
Yeah, you'd think so.
In my opinion.
If she didn't get to find out, then nobody does. I guess that's the journalistic ethics at
Totally
play
fair.
here.
I guess there's some truth in that. I mean, that's understandable.
The stand had a hole drilled in the side for a fuse. Finally, tape was wrapped over the top of the assembly. The idea was for the gunpowder to blast the powder, indicating a boy or girl, out the top of the stand.
Very clear writing.
Yeah, instead, just like the metal exploded and sent shrapnel everywhere.
So, like, okay, this was a contraption, is how we are. How does this differ from a pipe bomb? This sounds like if you were describing a pipe bomb to me.
Yeah, the way they describe it here, it seems like they were kind of just like experimenting and hacking something together.
I mean, I admire the spirit, but
Yeah, I mean that's how.
I may have additional information about the kit that they used later, but first I have a second incident.
Yes.
A second gender reveal explosion.
Wait, there was another
has hit
one?
the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
And here's another Des Moines Register article, this one written by Tyler J. Davis. The headline is Gender Reveal Explosion in Waukee. Second example in as many days of celebration attracting police presence. So this one also pretty close to Des Moines and Waukee. Central Iowa authorities responded Sunday to an explosion at a gender reveal celebration just one day after an Iowa grandmother was killed at a similar celebration. Waukee Fire and Police Department responded to a report of an explosion about 5:30 p.m. Sunday in the 32,000 block of Ute Avenue in rural Dallas
Of
County.
what avenue?
UTE. How do you pronounce that? Ute?
Yeah, I think it's Ute. Yeah.
Avenue.
Upon arrival, personnel spoke to the owners of the property and confirmed that there was an explosion as a result of a gender reveal announcement. A commercially available gender reveal kit was found to be the cause of the explosion. No injuries were reported. So in this case, it seems like they kept it just to the kit. No one died.
Are there multiple brands of kit? Now I'm very hung up on the kit. It's like,
Yeah,
We
is there a
like-
brand we can trust?
right?
You're buying explosives. Like
By Gender Co. No reported deaths.
Yeah, in fact, there's a quote here from somebody, Waukee Fire Captain Tom Tisdall. He says, "This is just a reminder that you should never ever make your own explosives. And if you are using one of these commercial devices, follow all manufacturer's instructions and take every safety precaution necessary." So they're more or less endorsing these products, but you know,
just follow the directions. You'll be fine.
Definitely use them, but use them correctly.
Yeah, it's not a problem because it's just white people that are buying these.
Yeah, that is true. It's such a boogie thing to do.
Like
do a gender reveal party in the first place.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's I don't know. I feel like if I had a kid, I wouldn't want to know at all until they popped out. Because, it doesn't fucking matter. It's irrelevant. It should be irrelevant to you as a parent.
Right. I mean, this just speaks to, how gender is enforced in our lives from birth, or pre-birth in this case.
Pre-birth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. The extent that people go to. What I posted, there's a picture I saw, it was it was a cattle farmer family. They, did their gender reveal in, a fucking ranch or whatever. It basically implied that the woman was a cow, and the guy was wearing a glove, a shoulder length glove or whatever.
They're both just smiling like it's a normal thing that just regular people do all the time.
That one just immediately made me think of Johnny Knoxville inseminating a cow.
Oh
on
yeah,
Jackass.
Classic scene. I remember that was on when we were in 5th grade, and I remember we were joking about it in school, and our teacher was like, "What do you how do you guys know what that is? What are you talking about?" It's oh, he stuck his whole arm up a cow's butt. It was incredible.
Well, yeah, that's got some very disturbing overtones, especially treating women as property. Yeah, it's fucking creepy. I think the whole gender reveal thing is creepy anyway, but
it is, yeah. And I mean, I know all of us have trans friends, and there are trans people listening to our show, and non-binary people, etc., people who don't conform to the gender norms of our society. I think in general, these gender reveal parties are probably pretty harmful. Well, not only to the people that they kill, but to the people who, I don't know, gender is just enforced in a way that's really unhealthy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. To defend myself slightly, and as a father, which I love saying with gravitas, we wanted to find out just purely because, it was readily available information. And
yeah.
I think our logic was sort of people are either going to start, you start getting, gifts and stuff from your weird extended family. And so you kind of just need to, we wanted to know so we could kind of hedge against stuff, and I felt like having the information was better because then we could at least sort of prepare accordingly for all of the gender expectation stuff that was going to get thrown at us.
That's perfectly fair, but yeah, I feel fathers in general are the ones who are rooting for the kid to be, a certain gender.
Yeah.
I mean, women do it too, but I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but it seems to me
I've seen a bit of both just from my friends having children. Usually it seems like they kind of know what they want, but they're not mad if they don't, their child isn't that, sex or whatever when they're born.
Yeah.
I got a friend that he has two girls, and his wife was pregnant again, and he's like, God, I just, I'll be fine if, but I was I really want a son this time around. And I'm like, nope, you're getting another girl. You're getting twin girls. It's going to be you, your wife, and 4 girls in the house. You're going to be awash in the estrogen ocean the rest of your life.
Well, if he's lucky, his assigned female at birth children will change their mind later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing. It just places some unrealistic expectations on the child.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily unrealistic, but just the whole idea of placing expectations that your child would behave a certain way, or,
I think this is a discussion that we should have again when Natalie's here. I think she'd have a lot of good takes about this and balanced takes, so it's not us just in here
just speculating,
waving our wieners around.
Right. I mean, that's basically what a gender reveal party is, because you're not revealing what your child's going to be. You're revealing what genitals they have.
Right. Genital reveal party. I'm gonna start calling it that. That's fine. That's much fun.
Those kind of parties are usually prosecuted. You
hit a fucking pinata in there's just a bunch of penises that fall out when the pinata breaks open. So it's got a penis.
Yeah, just a giant, a firework that goes into the air, explodes, and spells the word vagina. I would like that, honestly.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about this on the show, but Cooper, I am a little curious because I've talked with Natalie about this a little. Like, how much of your daughter's life, like quote unquote girly stuff, does that come about naturally at all, or is it just sort of like put on her by other people?
It's so hard to tell because I mean we go out of our way to like just roll with sort of I mean I think it's like there's probably a little bit of a feedback loop where some of it's I mean she at this point is very fully embracing girliness in a very old-timey way, and I like
Yeah.
it is not a product of Natalie and I, and so I think we've both spent some time trying to figure out, like, I think a lot of other people in the world just put a lot of it on her, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I've yet to really figure out, like, it didn't start at home, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to demonstrate how much of it is socially constructed versus biological. Like, I mean, I think we all pretty much agree that it's more of a social construct than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is in the air, and like it's I don't know how you like fight back against it besides like just
Well, and that's the thing too, is that like I feel like as a feminist, as a male ally, like I'm not really a fan of traditional gender roles, but like they still will exist, like it's not that we are like against traditional gender roles, it's that we feel like there should be different roles for other people to have. So it's like if you're fine, you be able to choose,
you should be able to do what you want
and not be like discriminated against, or like
everyone should be
like
allowed
there's
to do
room
what they like.
for everyone to have their own role, and some people prefer traditional gender roles, but it shouldn't be something that is like seen as superior or anything.
That's the official stance of Iowa's #1 men's humor politics podcast.
You heard it here.
still progressive men's humor.
Well, I'm a girly boy, so
Oh, also, if we ever have a shit take, we're just doing irony, just so you guys know.
Yeah, definitely.
If ever we say anything
irony.
bad or problematic, we're doing irony, so
Anything you disagree with, that was a joke, actually.
Yeah. And you look foolish now because you thought it was for real.
yeah, dude.
We got you. All right, I have a bit of a follow-up to the gender reveal explosions. This is on CBS2Iowa.com. That's KGAN, right?
Yeah. Yes. Also owned by Sinclair.
Right,
Oh,
right,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
One
Imagine
of
that.
the worst, most conservative fucking local media monopolies. I guess not quite a monopoly, but they do own they own KFX, they own the Fox affiliate in Cedar Rapids and the CBS affiliate, which is pretty fucked up.
Here's a little thing written by Shannon Mowdy. It's called Corridor Firearms Expert Reacts to Explosive Gender Reveal Safety Concerns.
Sounds like a ripper of a headline. Let's hear it.
Yeah. You can take many different things that are fun if used properly and do dumb things with them, says Ernie Troff, owner of Cedar Valley Outfitters in Marion.
Ernie Troft?
Troff, Traugh.
Oh, I think you said Troft. Like Ernie Troff. That's a fucking awesome name.
Ernie Troff? I don't know, man. He's talking specifically about tannerite, an explosive substance often used in gender reveals to create pink or blue powder clouds. The substance was used in one of 2 recent gender reveal explosions that ended in a police response in central Iowa. I don't know which one used tannerite, and I don't know what the other one used.
I thought, never mind. I thought it was both, but guess not.
I feel like the lethal one, we should probably clarify what happened in the lethal one versus the non-lethal one. But
Well, this goes into detail on what the tannerite kits include. Tannerite sells gender reveal kits online and in several retail stores. This article is nice enough to link us to said store.
Oh, nice.
So, sponsored content, baby.
brought to you by Big Tannerite.
It's completely legal in the U.S. and has been used by target shooters for years. The popularity of exploding gender reveals has made their boombox a hit among non-sportsmen, even prompting this disclaimer on the product page. We have been selling these kits to many folks who otherwise do not shoot, and they aren't familiar with the product or what kind of round it takes to initiate it. Please use someone who is familiar with the product if you aren't.
So, like, hire a sharpshooter for your gender reveal. I'm getting into that business.
Yeah, that
That'd
would
be
be
fun.
a good business. Just
Be a good weekend gig.
yeah, just get a van, buy a bunch of tannerite kits, and then go
And
around
just
and
drive around with a van full of explosives and like a rifle.
yeah. Rent a U-Haul truck and get a bunch of Never mind.
I'm filing taxes with my occupation as gender reveal marksman. Tannerite kits involve mixing ammonium nitrate and aluminum powders together, and for gender reveals, placing them with colored powder. The chemical reaction that occurs when a bullet hits the powders creates a colorful explosion.
Yeah, so again, it literally is a fertilizer bomb. I didn't even realize that when I made that joke, but it's literally fucking Timothy McVeigh would be proud.
And here's a quote from this guy, Ernie Troff. We sell it and never had a problem with it because I would say the average person that shops here understands the ramifications of using it properly. But it's easy to find stories of people that do something improper with it. It feels like this guy is like trying to run damage control.
There is no way that is true. There's absolutely no way. I've seen how people use explosives before, and like the reason that there hasn't been as many incidents is I'm sure more of a byproduct of just like luck and the fact that they're probably not even that powerful really to begin with. But like people are irresponsible as fucking hell with explosives in my experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in like rural Iowa.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I spent my entire teenage life just blowing shit up for fun.
My cousin blew his eyeball out.
Oh yeah, that's a great
I
story.
should probably tell this story because it's so good. But
Yeah.
my cousin lost his eye because he was playing with fireworks and lit a firework that didn't go off. It was like a bottle rocket or something. And then he went to like relight it or whatever and like put his head like right over like where the bottle rocket was going to go, and of course it lit at that point and took his eye out completely, so he had a glass eye.
Jesus.
Yep.
Well, he had to make sure. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good thing to do, is put your head over where an explosive was just lit.
Yeah, and if your gun doesn't work either, you just like shine a flashlight down the barrel and look down there and see what the problem is.
Yeah.
It's just like looking. People are so fucking stupid.
He lost his eyeball, and then the follow-up to that is that he went to Adventureland, which is our only really like theme park in Iowa, and all of us here, I'm sure, have gone many times. I've gone, dozens of times probably in my life.
Yeah,
and it's a nice little park. But they have a wooden roller coaster there that's been there since the 70s called the Tornado, and he rode on it and lost his glass eyeball. It popped out in the middle of the ride, and so he had to like stay after hours to let the park operators let him go underneath the ride to try to find his glass eyeball that popped out.
Usually they don't let you do that, do they? Usually it's like if you lose it, you're fucked. Sorry.
Well, I mean, they were nice enough. He had to wait until the park closed, but they did let him go underneath and look for it. And spoiler alert, he didn't find it. So,
that sucks.
Same guy also has a conviction for molesting a teenage boy.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
My family's got a lot of winners. I come from good stock.
I think
Absolutely.
you turned out just fine, Evan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I really do.
I do too.
It's Brovember. We're not doing the no nut thing or the mustache thing. Like, it's Brovember. Compliment your male friends, because they are all kings, and so are you.
Yeah. Tell your male friends that you love them.
Yeah. Quit being a punk.
I love all of you. Aww.
That's what we're about here on the #1 men's humor politics podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
About telling other men how much you love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a dude.
The red in the red pill is for love.
Men going their own way with each other.
Men going their own way, but not in the bad way.
That is the subtext of men going their own way. Like, completely. We're not hanging out with women anymore. We're only hanging out with the bros.
Yeah, dudes only.
Hell yeah.
All right, just a little bit more from this last article. So the explosion in Knoxville did not involve tannerite. Instead, family members used gunpowder inside a homemade stand,
God.
put tape over the top of metal tubing, and creating
Oh
a
my
pipe bomb.
fucking god.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no wonder someone got fucking mauled by shrapnel. Holy cow.
Yeah, so the description in that first article, like, that was the entire context. They built that whole thing themselves. No kit involved.
Oh my
man,
God.
I thought it was a kit, but goddamn, that's even worse. Like, how do you not understand like the danger involved in that? Jesus Christ.
Recall, the family was standing 45 feet away, and according to reports, shrapnel continued flying for another, 100 yards.
100 yards?
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
what it says.
Wow.
Yeah. That's incredible.
How much? They must have put a fuckload of gunpowder in there. I had a friend growing up who he emptied out a bunch of firecrackers or something and put a bunch of gunpowder in a Dixie cup and tried to throw a match in it, and it blew up in his face.
Ugh.
And I went to see him in the hospital, and it had burned his eyebrows off and burned his eyelashes off and all the fucking hair on the front of his head. He himself didn't really get burned very badly on his face, but that shit's what's wrong with people? Why would you do that? Just buy the nice certified tannerite kit.
Well, you'll still get the cops called on you though for that.
Yeah, but it's a bunch of fucking white people doing it, dude. It doesn't matter. The cops are gonna do anything.
That's true.
What do you folks doing out here? Oh, we're just shooting explosives. Oh, all right. Well, have a good one. Yeah. Oh, hey, can I take a shot at
They'll
it?
shoot
Yeah,
it
sure,
for you.
officer.
They'll just show up.
We're setting off explosives to celebrate life. You know.
Can you imagine if it was brown people out doing this somewhere and the fucking cops got called? The fucking difference it would make, in rural Iowa.
100%.
Yeah, building pipe bombs. Yeah.
Yeah, we're building bombs and shooting at them out here. Dude,
yeah.
it'd be considered fucking terrorism.
And one last quote from Ernie Troff. Troff believes social media has made these explosive reveals more popular and says anyone who uses tannerite should exercise common sense. He says he's sad Kreimeier lost her life, but hopes other people look at it as a lesson. Like anything else you see on social media today, everybody's trying to outdo the last person, especially with gender reveals, he says. It's a competition, I guess. Look at all the things that go wrong when people do something for attention.
That is true. People should stop doing things for attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, like recording podcasts.
Yeah, like recording podcasts. Or posting at all. Just not post. Or
Yeah, don't
contribute
post.
anything.
Definitely don't post.
Never post.
Yeah.
The number one killer of Americans, posting. Can I throw in? I actually found an AP article as well, and it reminded me. Remember a couple of years ago that a 47,000 acre wildfire was started by an off-duty border patrol agent who was doing a for his son. We do know here that it was a son. There was an explosive with blue coloring and caused more than $8 million in damage.
Oopsie daisy.
Wasn't that totally illegal too, or the way he did it or something, or was it just an accident?
Accidents happen.
I mean, he was an off-duty border patrol agent, so nothing he does is illegal.
Pretty much.
I had not heard of this. This is just a fun. This is an AP article from November 1st. In separate instances over the last 2 years, couples announced their child's sex by putting items into the mouths of their pet alligators. A watermelon filled with blue Jell-O in Louisiana and a pink powder-filled balloon in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Is that true?
So there are other options. It doesn't have to be explosions. It can be
Oh
alligators.
my god. I was even going to make a joke about that earlier. People are actually doing it?
You can't come up with something stupider than what is actually happening, apparently.
Yeah. Reality has eclipsed satire.
I find it surprising that's the first death associated with the gender reveal
if
party.
they're doing shit like that.
Right? Okay, I'm sorry. The last thing I did want to throw in, because I feel like this has to be a weird existence. Jenna Carvinitis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that.
Yeah.
no relation to our friend Joel. This is the person that popularized in 2008. She posted a blog item on a parenting website about a family barbecue where she had baked a cake with pink icing inside to reveal that she was having a daughter, and that's kind of what set this whole horrible thing rolling. From her quote, "The whole thing is just absolutely insane. She has now come to really turn against this whole thing." So I feel bad for her that she started this accidentally.
Lost control of her own creation.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic Frankenstein story, but with alligators.
With gender reveals.
All right, that's enough gender talk. It's time to get down to real men's business now.
With our Good friend of the show.
I have a important article here written by our friend, another man's man, big man around town, Joseph Dobrian. He's back, folks.
Abhor the baldy.
God.
Yes, we all feel the same as our friend Joseph about the baldies, because we're all men like him, strong, powerful, masculine men. All right, this is an article he wrote in the Press Citizen, of course, about a year ago. This is October 10th of 2018, and I think that Evan and Chuck are going to get a lot out of this one, specifically. The title here is Joe Louis, Colin Kaepernick, A Sorry Contrast.
Uh-oh.
Off to a good start.
Okay.
To this day, when an athlete, of any race, in any sport, behaves badly, my father says, it's a shame they can't all be like Joe Louis. Before we go on, imagine Joseph Dobrian's father.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it right now, and it's... What kind of weird man do you have to be to spawn and, like, raise a little Joseph Dobrian?
Oh, he had to have been, like, an authoritarian monster. Like...
Yeah.
Many professional athletes were known, through their careers and after, for their high standards of graciousness and sportsmanship. Their class, if you like. Bart Starr and Willie Davis in football. Sandy Koufax in baseball. Martina Navratilova and Monica Seles in tennis. Bill Russell in basketball. Bob Jones in golf.
Bob Jones? That's the person he chooses for golf to represent.
I don't know any of these people, so if you have any tidbits, I'd appreciate knowing more about any of these people.
I think he might have mentioned one black person in there. Willie Davis, I believe. Oh, and Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bill Russell. Yes. But on the Lily White Celtics teams.
But Joe Louis, heavyweight boxing champion of the world, 1937 to 49, was uniquely famous for his dignity, humility, patriotism, and integrity. Louis had faults. He was an unfaithful husband, inattentive father, reckless gambler. He spent the latter half of his life hopelessly in debt because he couldn't be bothered to look after his money.
This guy sounds good so far. Yeah, why?
So, yeah, he just said he was a perfect example of class. And then...
Yeah, he's like a lecherous fucking gambling scumbag.
So, like, it's okay to be a complete trash bag in your personal life, but, like, if you, like, fight with dignity, then, like, you know... You're excused.
In middle age, he developed paranoid schizophrenia and turned to cocaine and alcohol to ease his anxiety. Yes, his mental illness was listed in a paragraph of his faults. Thank you for that, Mr. Dobrian.
Nice, dude. Well fucking played.
On the other hand, he was known for his low-key, gentlemanly behavior in and out of the ring. The media called him a credit to his race.
What?
Oh. Oh, mask off already.
Wow. What the fuck, man?
Well, you have to keep in mind too. This is like Depression era. This is like the 30s and 40s. I'm not excusing it, but like that sort of thing being printed was like not uncommon and like not seen as like.
Oh yeah,
bad.
It's not shocking that it was printed in the 30s, but this is in 2018 and being held up.
Yeah, and he's using it. He's not like bringing it up as like anything other than a fucking like positive.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
Right.
He was.
He was a credit to his race. After I just talked about how bad he was in his personal life.
Well, you know, sports writer Jimmy Cannon retorted, "He's a credit to his race." The human race.
Okay.
He doesn't see color.
He doesn't see color.
He doesn't see color. That's good.
That's cool.
Quietly, Louis crusaded against Jim Crow. He didn't demonstrate. That wasn't his way. But he donated the entire purse from his January 9th, 1942 title defense against Jacob Buddy Bear to the Navy Relief Fund. This at a time when the Navy only allowed black people to enlist as stewards' mates.
Do you think that Joseph Dobrian realizes that Colin Kaepernick donated a bunch of his own money too while this was going on and like volunteered in his community?
He might. He hasn't even brought up Kaepernick yet.
Oh, God, I can't wait for him to do it.
I wonder what kind of comparison he'll draw.
We'll see.
This gesture went a long way towards shaming the Navy into integration. Louis was frequently a guest of wealthy white friends at restricted restaurants and nightclubs. Gradually, he was able to gain entry to these places on his own and bring his black friends, thus ending the restrictions one property at a time. He defeated racism by being rich.
Hey, what do you know?
Much of his work for racial equality was underreported, even criticized by the black press, because Lewis was a Republican and publicly condemned President Roosevelt's New Deal.
Okay. So you're saying there's a reason why you like this guy in particular?
I think it's becoming more and more clear with every word you've written.
Probably nothing illustrates why Joe Louis was so admired better than the statement he made when he joined the U.S. Army, suspending his boxing career at the peak of his earning power to be a $21 a month private soldier. We're going to do our part and we'll win because we're on God's side. A friend told him, "You said it wrong, dummy. You were supposed to say, God's on our side." Lewis replied, "I said it right. Just wait and see." "We're on God's side" became America's unofficial slogan for the rest of World War II. Lewis never talked much, but he was no dummy. Oh, all right. That seems like a bit of a diversion there. Lewis died penniless due to a mountainous tax debt.
Oh my God, dude.
Just like Ayn Rand.
Many people urged the IRS to forgive that debt due to Lewis's immeasurable services to his country. But Lewis never made that request, never complained, never denied responsibility. Did he pay the back taxes? I don't know.
Is that supposed to be like a glowing reflection of who he is? That he's like, oh no, that's fine, just keep fucking me, I don't care.
Right. Lewis is buried in Arlington National Cemetery in a hero's grave. Okay, that's everything that Dobrian writes about Joe Louis. So what's your impression of this guy overall?
Of Joseph or of Joe Louis?
Of Mr. Lewis.
He's a credit to his race.
I think that this Joe Louis is just literally serving as a device for him to get mad about Colin Kaepernick, what's just coming up here, for him to justify the horrible things he's about to type about Kaepernick.
Yep.
I can't believe you'd make such an accusation.
Yeah, wow. And I think the reason he chose Joe Louis is literally just from something his father said to him once that he just remembered for some odd reason, of like a Depression-era boxer who also happened to be an African-American that served in the military and loved God. So, like, you know, this is going to be... He's setting this up for, like, a very poorly structured juxtaposition of Colin Kaepernick. Like, there's more effective people I think he could have maybe chosen to make his point, but, like, nobody really fucking knows who Joe Louis is, I don't think.
I literally read a book about Joe Louis and remember nothing about him because, like, his whole deal is that he was, like, he was post, like, Jack Johnson, who was, like, unabashedly, like, he did not pretend not to be black and rich and was basically, like, constantly chased by the law because of it. And so, like, he was absolutely, like, this whole one of the good ones thing was, like, this horrible, like, that was a widely held belief. So I think this, like, does work for, like, if you were 90 and reading this, I'm sure that is a great example. Or, like...
Like, I want to rephrase what I said. I didn't say no one cares or no one knows who Joe Louis is. Like, he's an American figure, but in the year 2019, people don't really... This guy's an afterthought. Like, even people like Mike Tyson and like Evander Holyfield are becoming afterthoughts.
Well, that, and there's nothing controversial about really anything there.
No,
you know, he supported the status quo. Like, he supported the military. He was probably got more criticism from like other black people than he did from white people.
Yeah, the black press did hate him, and like kind of rightfully so, it sounds like. Sorry, I pulled up some stuff because I was desperately trying to remember anything about him. His other very important quote during World War II, there was newsreel footage of a soldier clerk asking him, "What's your occupation?" To which Lewis replied, quote, this is not me saying this is Joe Louis's answer.
Don't say the N-word.
No, it's in the ballpark. Quote, fighting and let us at them Japs. So.
Yes, the Pacific Theater.
Yeah, this guy sounds like a real activist.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like activism involved in like any of the things that he mentioned. He gave some money to the Navy.
Well, that's why he says he's good.
And he basically he said that's why the Navy integrated, was because of he gave them some money.
Right. That's what's really like bothers me about the first part of this article.
That's like there's no way. There's no way that has anything to do with it.
Dobrian is holding Joe Louis up because Louis was quiet and wasn't like actively opposing segregation, etc., and uses the example of giving money to the military as an example of his activism. Like, specifically, a branch of the military that was persecuting his people.
Right. I can think of another black boxer who is an activist who actually like people and still like have a positive.
Yeah, too bad.
Who actually fought for I don't know, Cassius.
I think it was Cassius. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Not that Muhammad fellow though. Cassius Clay was a nice boy. Played by the rules.
Yeah, it's just some fucking like reverse psychology thing. Like, well, I'm going to give money to the worst part of the military that's treating black people the worst, and then maybe they'll think twice.
Yes, surely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason they integrated was because they needed like fucking bodies.
Yeah, basically to throw to the meat grinder.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah, it's like, I mean, especially in World War II, that was such a fucking huge mobilization of people.
Right. Yep, the Navy needed some human shields, and who better to be a human shield than the people we consider less?
Yeah, go see if there are any snipers out there. We'll watch from back here.
Damn.
On to the other guy mentioned in the headline of this story. Early in the 2016 season, NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick began sitting, later kneeling, for the pregame playing of the national anthem because I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people.
Flag! Respect the flag!
This at a time when Jim Crow is more than 50 years dead. This at a time when affirmative action guarantees that black students will have a better shot at admissions to prestigious schools than white students. Oh my god.
That is the standard by which, obviously, like, black people have it great. No more Jim Crow.
Yeah, no more Jim Crow. There's affirmative
we have
action.
Affirmative action.
Yeah, it's
Jesus
so
Christ,
simple.
Man.
Be more grateful.
Obviously, all the racial fucking issues in this country have been like definitely 100% cleared up.
Yeah. There's no new Jim Crow that anybody has identified by name or anything, so that's good.
No,
yeah, there's never the Jim Crow that never fucking left to begin with.
Well,
really.
yes.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
This at a time when racial polarization might in some ways be worse than ever. Thanks quite clearly to professional grievance grifters such as Kaepernick.
That's why.
That's
That's why.
Grifters.
It's not the racism itself, it's the people who talk about racism.
What a
As
fucking
usual.
dumbass. This guy gets dumber every week we talk about
That's
him.
impressive.
Yeah, it's actually by design. I selected his articles in increasing levels of stupidity. Whom Nike recently signed to a multi-year, multi-million-dollar endorsement contract as a reward for, quote, sacrificing everything.
I mean, yeah, he lost his job. He's been blackballed by the NFL. He spent his entire life perfecting the position of quarterback, and he took his team to the Super Bowl because he was, I mean, the defense was really good, but he still quarterbacked that team. He broke rookie rushing records for a quarterback, playoff records for a rookie, and there are some players in the NFL right now that play quarterback that are fucking horrible, and they have a job. Like, Colin Kaepernick is a very high-level backup at the absolute worst.
At the absolute worst, yeah. There's no excuse for him not playing.
He absolutely did lose everything. Like, what do you... Like, imagine spending your whole life perfecting your craft, and then you just aren't allowed to do it anymore. And, you know, just for something like this. I could talk about fucking Kaepernick forever, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to highlight once more the paragraph I just read. He gives two examples that to him say racism is over, and then follows that up with, at a time when racial polarization might in some ways be worse than ever.
Yeah, I fucking...
So, like, if it's gone, then why is that polarization there? It's clearly an issue.
Grifters.
Because of the people who talk about racism. Because there's people... Yeah, it's like... That's the common thing with conservatives, like, oh, you're pulling the race card, oh, you're like inciting racial problems that don't exist by like mentioning that there are racial problems that still exist. It's just like they hate to be reminded of it. Like that's really all it is. They just hate to be reminded of any sort of like social discrimination.
Moving along with Dobrian's words, Kaepernick has the right to protest. Nike has the right to pay him. Anyone has the right to admire him. I have the right to despise him.
Yeah, you sure do, buddy.
Hell yeah. Go off.
Joe Louis was a great American. Joe Louis helped unify our country during the 20th century's greatest crisis. Joe Louis truly sacrificed. Joe Louis was a man. What a sorry contrast.
I'm just starting to feel bad for this guy because he's telling on himself so much when he writes stuff like this.
Oh, they always are.
You mean he may be insecure in his own masculinity?
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Maybe.
I can't quite tell. Like, it's not like there's something in every single article he's ever written, no matter how irrelevant it is, that exposes that, but...
All right, so that thus concludes the latest, well, not latest, but our latest descent into the Doughbrain library.
That was literally all there was?
Oh,
that's
yeah,
all he said.
man,
That's all he had to say about Kaepernick. Are you serious? I thought there was going to be more.
No, that was all. Just like a couple paragraphs.
So he spends, however, jacking off Joe Louis, and then he just it's like, oh yeah, it's Colin Kaepernick guy. Okay, hold on a minute. When did he write this?
Yeah, this was October of 2018.
Really?
That's 2018?
Well after the fact.
Yeah. So 2 years late. Yeah.
Yeah, no one is even. I mean, people are still talking about it.
No, this would have been around the time that there's the league-wide protests when Trump called for someone to lose their job. And like every team was doing it that week.
I think this was even after that. I'm pretty sure
it was after this, but it was around the same time. So it was still probably stewing in his brain.
His Doughbrain.
His Doughbrain.
Yep. Just baking.
I would like to point out that Colin Kaepernick literally won a settlement from the league.
Yeah.
There was he filed a lawsuit basically saying that he was being blackballed from the league, and they investigated it, and they had some arbitrator or whatever, and they found emails between league executives and owners and stuff, basically literally saying we're not going to sign Colin Kaepernick because of his politics. And at the time when he sued, everyone was like, oh, everyone's just going to sue because they suck too bad to get a contract or whatever. And all these sports writers were like, there's no way this case has any merit whatsoever. He's just trying to keep his name out there and all this shit. And then they settled with him. I don't know how much money. Yeah, I don't know how much money it was, but there was literally evidence. The NFL is fucking. They have teams of lawyers. They are aggressively pursuing their interests. In every other case, for them to settle, there was fucking physical evidence that they were blackballing him from the league.
And the thing that's interesting too about this is it wasn't just Kaepernick that was doing it. I believe Carlos Hyde was also doing it along with him the entire time when he was playing for the 49ers. Devontae Parker has been doing it ever since. I know the Bennett boys are really outspoken about things as well. I mean, it's still happening. There are still guys that, so much so to the point where they don't broadcast the national anthem anymore. If you watch an NFL game, they don't even show you the national anthem beforehand.
Nice. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, they don't do it at all. Yeah. But, there's guys still doing it, but, just because Colin Kaepernick was, seen as the figurehead of this, and people immediately attached all their rage to him that they couldn't have him in the league, despite the fact that there were plenty of other guys that were doing it. Just last season, they interviewed Devontae Parker about it, and he was like, "Yeah, he's I got a brother that was his brother was either killed in the line of duty. He was either killed or he was formerly enlisted, and he spoke to his brother about it. He's like, "Yeah, it's fine, fucking do it, dude." So it's still happening, but
another thing I want to say is that he's talking about how Joe Louis is quiet and classy and dignified. And it's Colin Kaepernick literally was not drawing attention to himself. Literally was doing it, not telling anyone about it. He was kneeling for the national anthem for the entire season up until at some point some reporter asked him about it or something, or someone noticed.
They showed him on TV is what happened.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then he got asked about it, and then he said that it was because the way this country treats black people. So it's he literally wasn't even trying to draw attention to himself. He was doing it for his own reasons.
Right.
It's great how Dobrian goes into Joe Louis's personal life a little bit, just to say that he cheated on his wife, he was a shitty dad, he gambled away all of his money, and he doesn't really touch on Kaepernick's personal life at all.
There's
because
literally nothing there.
Because Cap is just a regular nice dude.
and he has given a ton of money to charity since there is all the media, and I'm sure before then as well. But he wasn't being like insanely like confrontational about it or anything. Like the controversy was like thrown upon him. Like he wasn't out there trying to be fucking being a vocal activist until it was basically forced upon him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was the kind of protest that these kinds of people would say they wanted before he started doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why can't you just protest peacefully?
It was like a very like personal thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally silent, not getting in anyone's way. Like, yeah, it is absolutely the thing that you can protest, but just don't do X, Y, and Z. And like, no, you can't win.
No.
They'll get even angrier at you.
Right. Because you proved them wrong while also proving your point. Like,
well, good thing we have the XFL coming next year, and they're gonna ban any sort of political gesture by any of their players.
Right.
So,
which is explicitly apolitical.
Yes, because the gesture of banning everything political is definitely not political.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to put a bit of a positive spin on the Doubrian article we just read.
How?
I would like to see you do that. Yeah.
I got this. Don't worry. So Joseph, he may be terrible at writing about the intersection of politics and sports, but fortunately, we do have a pretty popular platform for writers to do just that. Very thoughtfully and aggressively. Show the connections between sports and politics and write about how those two fields intersect. Oh, wait, I'm just getting a message here. Oh, yeah, Deadspin is over.
Oh.
No more Deadspin. Dead.
yeah, it's really cool that the blog that I've read probably on a weekly basis for over a decade had some of the most intelligent sports coverage around that like actually had a critical eye towards institutions and sports institutions and political institutions. It's pretty cool that they basically they were bought, I think, by Univision originally, which then I guess sold off the rest of it to this GMG Media, or Gizmodo Media Group is what it's called now, but it's Jim Spanfeller, who is basically like, he was an media executive basically who did a lot of like early internet sports stuff. And basically he bought the company and told Deadspin writers that like they cannot talk about politics in their articles. Like they have to, the only things they can publish is stuff that's like explicitly sports related. And the staff, of course, didn't like that and basically defied them and said that we're not going to do that. And then they reacted by firing the longest tenured editor there, Barry Pachetsky, and basically at that point everyone at Deadspin quit, and that includes a lot of really good writers like David Roth, Drew Magary, like I don't know, basically I mean everyone quit. Like
ideally I think that they'll sort of like resurface elsewhere together, but it will never quite be the same collection of writing that you get there. But
it's disgusting because they had a popular brand. They were averaging like 20 million unique views a week or a month, or I can't remember that. Like they were a very popular blog, and it was very popular for a specific reason because they had the kind of like smart content that you don't typically see on a sports blog.
Right.
And like that was their whole brand. That's the only reason that anyone like read Deadspin. And so these like private equity guys just came in and were like, we're going to change this. We're going to like just cut off our nose to spite our face. Like there's literally no reason for them to do that other than I'm sure that they don't agree with the politics of the website, but it's like these people are supposed to care about making money first and foremost. And so like it makes absolutely no fucking sense. It's just pure spite and just
they
stupidity.
hated the politics enough that even money wasn't enough.
Stick to sports.
It's kind of the Trump era, you know? It's just spite, pure spite about, anyone who dares to fucking speak up.
Yep. R.I.P. to the gender reveal party, Grandma, and to Deadspin. And to Beto 2020.
And to Joe Louis.
Lots of endings this week.
So yeah, rest in peace, rest in power.
Yeah, kind of a bleak media landscape we're looking at, but I think that's a good place for us to wrap up. You know what? I think podcasts can pick up where media leaves off.
Mm-hmm.
Deadspin is dead, but Rock Hard Caucus lives on.
Yeah, we're so hard as a rock.
Yeah, we can pick up the torch where they dropped it.
Still wholly owned by Univision, though, so we cannot.
Yeah.
Don't want to step on any
Will be
toes.
acquired at some point by Gizmodo, but
That's why you'll never hear anybody on this podcast be critical of the show Parenthood, because
Yep. So thanks everyone for listening. Thank you to Cooper for joining us today.
you are very welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. I apologize since I'm being a man going my own way today by accident. I'm sorry if my family made any audio intrusions to the listeners here.
I will make sure
No
to
problem.
edit out any sort of feminine contributions from your track.
Perfect. Okay. Any dogs are manly men, so they can stay in.
Yep. If you're listening to this and you enjoyed this men's only edition of Rock Hard Caucus, you want us to record more often without any women, please let us know. Our Twitter handle is @RockHardCaucus. We'd love to hear from any listeners who never want to hear a woman's voice again.
Damn.
Also, rockhardcaucus@gmail.com.
Yep.
It's also a good one.
All right, thanks for doing a show with me, guys.
You are welcome. That was fun.
See you next time.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.